This is the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon Radio.
A very warm welcome to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show. I'm Nancy Stevens and I'm so thrilled to be back on air for my third show. I feel like I'm just starting to get the momentum going and I'm really, really excited. So a little bit about me if you've not listened to my first couple of shows. If not, why not? It's available on Catch Up and on YouTube as well. I'll post the links later. But I am a personal stylist and have been for 20 years. I have a real passion for fashion. I'm a dopamine dresser, but I am wearing all the sparkle today. I'm in full on festive mode. Christmas is imminent and I am buzzing. I went to see Panto last night and that to me signifies the beginning of Christmas. Although working in retail, Christmas starts in about September. So generally I'm a bit over it by now, but I am actually excited. Panto for me is the beginning. So I'm an award-winning radio presenter and I've interviewed anyone who was anyone in showbiz back in the day, but now my program is about a little bit about the arts, but mostly fashion, menopause, and what's on TV and theatre. So and I have two amazing boys, Henry and Benji. Henry was mortified I mentioned him last week, so I know that full disclosure, he will not be listening to this again. But I'm super proud of them both. They're doing amazingly, and I am a menopausal mummy. Just very proud. And in the second hour, I'll be talking to Ailsa Petchey of the Olive Collective, where we present hot stuff. So very exciting about that. And what else you can expect today is a lot of fashion talk and what to wear on Christmas Day. And I've gone all out basically. And also my views on Milton Keynes Panto Peter Pan. Oh yes, I'm going to be giving you those too. But it's going to be a great show. And I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling a lot better than last week. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about fashion now. And as you can see today, I'm wearing a very sparkly but highly flammable top with a pussy bow. Very 1980s, I have to say. Absolutely loving it. It's from Phase 8 and with all the metallics, and I've teamed it with a pair of faux leather culottes, which are super comfy, elasticated for all those Christmas dinners and all the mince pies I've started to consume. This is something I'd be quite comfortable to wear on Christmas Day as a guest. However, if I was hosting, I wouldn't want these sleeves to be sort of floating in the gravy. But no one wants me to cook their Christmas dinner for them anyway, because cooking, as you all know, is not my strong point. So if you are the host, you need to minimize flouncy sleeves and bows, which are massive this season. There are bows absolutely everywhere, and they are beautiful. But as I say, if you're cooking or you're hosting and you don't want the faff and you just want to be comfortable, I would probably recommend that you go for a sort of a thin knit, little bit of sparkle, a palazzo pant, and maybe a sparkly shoe or something. As I say, bows are massive. Bows are not for everybody. If you're quite booby, a lot of bows. Gosh, that's quite a tongue twister. A lot of tongue twisters last night in Panto, I have to say, can make you look quite booby. So be very careful with too many bows. So I'm going to just go for one, but I love lots of little bows on other people, but it's just too much for me. So I think the most important thing if you are hosting is to be really, really comfortable and probably, as I say, not wear anything that's quite so flammable. Also, because bows are really fashionable, they're not for everybody. And as I've always said, just because it's in fashion doesn't mean it's right for you. So if you want a little nod to fashion, maybe just buy a little bow for your hair. There's some beautiful bows there under a tenner. A little red velvet bow can just make you feel very festive if you don't want to go the full 80s yards. All about sleeves, very dynasty, very 80s. If you're pear-shaped like I am, the detail on the sleeve really, really does help. So a lot of sort of pin tucks there, and say having a detailed sleeve, a big sleeve is a distraction if you're quite pear-shaped. So definitely recommend that. I would also recommend on Christmas Day maybe a jumpsuit because they're really, really comfortable. Allow another 5 minutes if you need to go to the loo, but they are very comfortable. Lots of ladies are really scared of jumpsuits when I see them come and see me for a personal styling appointment. They're like, I can't wear a jumpsuit. I'm too this, I'm too that. But actually a jumpsuit is really flattering because it's the head to toe look. So you're not being cut in half with separates. So actually jumpsuits are very flattering. And if you look at my socials, I wore a jumpsuit to Panto Press night, and I felt very, very comfortable. And it was the block color head to toe. So do look at jumpsuits. And even if you're petite, obviously you need to look at petite option, because petite is not just about the length. It's the bit between under your arm and sort of your waistline. So that's very, very important. But yes, there's lots of amazing pretty clothes out there at the moment. Another thing I would say, going back to bows and blouses and things, if you are worried about gaping, and sometimes if you like, I some of my tops gape because I am quite booby, a tank top is a great option, and there are lots of lovely tank tops around at the moment. So have a look at that as well. Palazzo pants are so comfy, and always go for elasticated. If you don't like trousers, as I said in last week's show, a skirt, but elasticated all the way. Do not go for a tight waistband at Christmas. That makes absolutely no sense. So those are my Christmas tips, but lots of lovely, lovely sparkles out there. There's still time to go and get your outfit for Christmas Day. But as I say, you want to be comfortable, particularly if you are hosting. I'm going to talk about TV now. And I don't know if you were living under a rock in the last, last couple of months. But there was a great show that had so much publicity. The publicity machine for this show must have been in overdrive. I think this was before Wicked. Thank God it didn't come out at the same time as Wicked, because it would have, vanished without a trace. But I'm talking about Rivals. I'm delighted that it has been commissioned for a second series. I am so thrilled. I love Jilly Cooper's books in the 1980s, proper bonkbusters, and this was absolutely no exception. It was fabulous. It was full 80s. It was an 80s extravaganza, and it was so authentic. So as a homage to that, I'm wearing a very 80s blouse today with a pussy bow. So I'm sort of channeling my inner Margaret Thatcher. But the fashion, I watch it for the fashion, but it is also a lot of fun. It really, really is a lot of fun. But a great cast, an absolutely amazing cast. We had Aidan Turner as broadcaster Declan O'Hara, and we had David Tennant as Tony Baddingham, who is the baddie. He's the TV mogul, and I'm not sure who that might be based on. No names mentioned, and they just don't get on. And then the sort of the hunky one, the sort of Lotharia of the piece, as Alex Hassel as Rupert Campbell Black, who is an ex-Olympic show jumper, politician, and the rivalry between him and Tony is intense. They absolutely loathe one another, but it's so well acted. It's just fabulous. It's so 80s. But the star of the show, actually, which I was really surprised about, and everybody's talking about it, was Danny Dyer. He was absolutely outstanding. And I've only ever seen Danny Dyer in EastEnders doing his all right, all right, mate. Sorry, shocking Cockney accent there. But he was outstanding. He really was. And he played a mogul as well, someone who was a self-made man, very humble, in love with his friend's wife. But he was very ethical, and everybody else was jumping into bed with each other, and it was all very saucy. And it's set in the fictional, it's kind of very Cotswoldy, but the fictional county of Rutshire, no pun intended. But he's wonderful, and he's a scene stealer in every single scene he's in, because he's not in it for a lot of the time, but he's amazing, and everybody's talking about his performance because he played it with such pathos and empathy, and you just wouldn't expect that from him. He's fabulous. There's a lot of nude tennis, which I have to say was quite an eye-opener in more ways than one, and Emily Atack is fabulous in it. I absolutely love her, and all the women have this massive hair, and as I say, the fashions are just phenomenal. It is a great show. It's very funny. It doesn't take itself seriously. And it's just incredibly 80s and very true to the book, actually. Jilly Cooper was executive producer, so she's been involved, and she actually has a cameo in it. And I love it when that happens. I love it when the person who has been responsible for its inception plays a part in it. So it is absolutely so wonderful. And I cannot wait to see the second series. And it is amazing. It's a soundtrack of my youth. There's so many fabulous 80s tunes. But one tune that just plays throughout, it is the soundtrack of my youth, but also the whole show is a song we're going to play now, and it's by the brilliant Depeche Mode, That the Truth. I'm going to talk about Panto now. Oh, yes, I actually am. panto is always fabulous. For me, as I said at the beginning of the show, it signifies the beginning of Christmas. And it's such a wonderful thing for families to go to. And again, as I said on last week's show, sometimes this is the only opportunity that families get together or get to go to the theatre, because theatre is expensive, but it is a wonderful thing that generations, 3, 4, 5 generations can go to together and just know that they're going to have an amazing time. And Peter Pan and Milton Keynes Theatre did not disappoint. I was lucky enough to be invited to the red carpet VIP Panto press night. Gosh, that's a mouthful, as I am every year. And it's so lovely when you get there and it's just festive and the pianist is playing and you had the Christmas tree is worthy of Trafalgar Square. It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was just such a lovely vibe, and the kids are there, their little faces just lit up. It was it's just wonderful. I absolutely love it. And walking the red carpet, I mean, seriously, I'm a fashionista. I love walking the red carpet. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful night. And Peter Pan at Milton Keynes Theatre. I feel like one of those game show girls actually holding up, but it honestly, it's a fabulous program actually. But it is such a fabulous panto. It really is. It's a Crossroads panto, and they do, the Crossroads are the biggest pantomime producers in the world. They do amazing pantos on an epic scale and with fantastic special effects. But what I liked about last night, and there were a few special effects, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there were far greater laughs and less special effects. And I love that. And don't get me wrong, I do love, the whizzes and the bangs and the hydraulics and all that. It's wonderful. But I don't like it when a show relies on that. And this was just one laugh after another. It was just fantastic. So that for me, the two main stars are obviously Craig Revel-Horde. He's the bums on seats. He's the reason there are so many bums on seats. He's such a big star, but you don't realize what an amazing performer he is, because a lot of people just know him for being the Strictly Baddie judge. And he's so much more than that. Craig started his career. You can tell I'm a massive Craig Revel-Horde fan, and he shared my story on the socials last night. I was like, oh, Craig shared my story on the socials, which was really lovely. But I've met him as I said before, and he's just a really lovely guy, and he's nothing like his TV persona. Of course, he's not. That's just he's hamming up for the camera. But Craig started his career back in the 80s in Australia as a drag artist. And obviously that was a difficult time to do that in Australia, a very macho kind of culture. And I've read his autobiography. I think it's called All Balls and No Glitter. And it's brilliant, and it's searingly honest, and it's painful actually, the homophobia that he had to endure in that particular time and that particular culture as well. And then he came over to the UK and he went into the West End and he did Miss Saigon, and he's done some really, really big shows. He's obviously renowned as a choreographer. He's a fantastic choreographer. But people forget that he is a bona fide musical theatre star. So when he started to sing in Panto, you could see a lot of people going, oh my God, he can really sing. I'm like, yes, of course he can sing. He's musical theatre trained. He knows his stuff, and he's got the most fantastic voice. He really, really does. But most important thing, he knows how to command a stage. He literally you can't take your eyes off him. He is just so utterly mesmerizing. And obviously it was full to the brim of Strictly jokes and references and bursting into little salsa here, a little paso doble there, a little tango, all as much Strictly as you could cram into one show, they did. And why not? That's what people know him for. He is absolutely fabulous as Captain Hook, and he's the ultimate baddie. And obviously there's everybody say, oh no, he's behind you, and he comes in and everyone goes boo, and that's what Panto's all about. It's that audience interaction. But he's fantastic. So yeah, if you're a Craig Revel-Horde fan, absolutely worth going to see him in Peter Pan. The other scene-stealing star of the show, I'm impressed that I actually managed to say that. I want to get his name right, was illusionist and comedian Max Fulham as Captain Smee. Oh my God. This guy is a phenomenon. His talent is absolutely extraordinary. I mean, he is holding the audience in the palm of his hand. And that is very difficult to do. To keep the attention, to keep the focus on you, but not make it about you is really, really difficult. And he absolutely did that 100%. So funny. He had his monkey George, and that's where he does his ventriloquism, which it blows my mind. I mean, I was watching to see if I could see his mouth move, and nothing. It's incredible. It's such a skill. But his comedic timing, and comedy, as we know, is about timing. It really is second to none. And again, it didn't feel like it was about him. He was. It felt like he was very much part of the ensemble, and it was a great ensemble cast, but he really was the star of the show. Very, very funny, and the jokes just came thick and fast. And even if they weren't jokes, he's just naturally funny. He's got funny bones. He's a comedian, obviously. So yeah, for me, he's the star of the show, and I'm just in awe. He's worth the ticket price alone. He really is. The acromaniacs were incredible. So they come and do all the tumble turning and all the stunts and everything. And it always seems a bit random. There's always a bit in Panto that seems completely random. You think, what's this got to do with the plot? And that's half the fun. But they created the thrills and spills. And it was just so wonderful watching the children, their little faces just wrapped with attention. And just like, oh wow. And obviously the special effects are great. And again, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's quite a scary crocodile at the beginning, and I was like, oh my god, it's like being back in the jungle and I'm a celebrity. This crocodile is massive, in massive mouth. So that was a bit scary, but it's a wonderful, wonderful show. And for me, I was asked when I did my Vox Pop at interval, was it the best or how did it compare? You couldn't compare it. What I loved about it, as I say, it felt very family orientated. It felt very, very humorous, and it was fun. And you can't compare. Every Panto is different, and you have to take it on its own merit. So I absolutely loved it. It is on, Peter Pan is on at Milton Keynes Theatre till the 5th of January. So we've still got to wait. There's still tickets available. Still a while to go, but it is a wonderful way to kickstart your Christmas, and it really has put me in the festive spirit. So yeah, go along, see Peter Pan. It is absolutely fabulous, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 from me, darling. Welcome to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon, and I'm delighted to be presenting the second hour of Hot Stuff with Ailsa Petchey, which is our third show we've done together. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Ailsa is a seasoned health and wellness expert with over 33 years experience. She is an author of Don't Sweat It, How to Manage Your Menopause in 21 Days, and an all-round amazing hormone expert, and as I've always said, Milton Keynes answer to Davina. Very warm welcome back.
Oh, thanks so much. Thank you.
So today we are going to talk about something that I didn't even know existed, actually, and I'm going to try and pronounce it, is musculoskeletal syndrome in menopause.
Yes, that's right. We are. Basically, we're talking about joint pain and muscle aches and basically body fatigue, which is really common in menopause. So I thought it would be quite a good one to talk about, because at this time of year especially, we all seem to be feeling a little bit more achy and sore going forwards. But there's a good reason for it. It's basically as we go into our later years, dare I say it, I know.
God.
Our estrogen drops, and estrogen is the thing that gives our joints that sort of suppleness. It keeps moisture in the body. And obviously muscle and joint pain can actually come from a loss of that estrogen. And because our estrogen drops in big dollops, it doesn't happen in this nice linear line.
Of course it doesn't.
No, of course not. It means that we actually can feel these sort of like symptoms of pain and exhaustion and tiredness, but also through our muscles as well. They can come in these sort of like big sort of like swirls of feeling, and then suddenly you feel fine again for a little while. So I thought we could just chat about that today and see if we can answer a few questions about that as well.
Absolutely, because it's definitely something I suffer from, but not as much as I did when I was probably sort of early postmenopausal, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So, and obviously exercise, and we'll talk about that later, definitely helps combat that. But that utter exhaustion, which is just all consuming, that sometimes you think you've got ME, and I went for numerous blood tests. I was thinking there's something very, very wrong with me. I must be anemic or, but it is, as you say, it's the natural depletion of estrogen. It's just making you damn tired.
It is. Oh my gosh. I mean, I have to say, I thought I was not going to be struggling with that. I thought, as a fitness instructor, I teach Pilates, I teach body conditioning. I thought, oh, I'll be fine. That was the biggest shock for me, is actually finding that there are portions of the day, even now, that I find that I do need to just take stock where I'm at, because, I physically can feel absolutely exhausted if I haven't taken care of what I've eaten, what we've drunk. All those things have such an impact. And also if you haven't slept well. I think the thing about this musculoskeletal syndrome, basically, there's a Dr. von der Wright, she's American, and she's coined this phrase, which basically encompasses things like joint pain and stiffness. It encompasses things like muscle aches and fatigue. It's reduced flexibility and mobility, and also the increased risk of arthritis as well. And actually, we were having a chat off air, and arthritis is something that you have actually experienced yourself.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you can see it, but if I go close to camera, you can see the joints on my fingers are really, really swollen, and that is osteoarthritis. Okay. And there isn't a lot you can do about it, because it's not an autoimmune thing like rheumatoid arthritis, which obviously you can take medication for. Yeah. But it gets incredibly painful, particularly in the winter when my joints get cold, or holding a mouse. So I did have some injections a couple of months ago, which was incredibly painful, as you can imagine, just literally injecting into the cartilage. Honestly, my pain was just through the roof. But so it's definitely an age thing. It has definitely got worse. Yeah. And I also, and as a word of warning to those youngsters who do stupid things with their fingers like clicking, and I'm double jointed, I used to do this malarkey with my, Oh
yes, the fingers bending, just the top parts.
No, please. I know it's clever when you're bored as a child doing all this nonsense, but trust me, it'll come back and bite you in the bum. So do not do stuff like that. But yeah, it is very, very painful. And my toes as well can just sometimes there's no sensation in them at all, or and when I'm doing yoga, which does help, it's there's lack of flexibility.
Yes. And actually, how do you find walking in heels now compared to how you were younger?
God, I wore heels to Panto Press night, and I was crippled. I just, wearing heels is not a natural thing to do anyway, let's be honest, because it tilts the body forward, it alters our posture. But my God, you look fabulous in it. But I did literally have Carter bar shoes on, and I was crippled by the end, but I looked fabulous. But it was okay
fabulous
for that.
With pain going
fabulous
through.
Yes, and they say no pain no gain, and joking aside, it's not something I would do on a regular basis. No. But I can't do really, really high heels anymore. No. I just can't do it. And I end up walking like Les Dawson. It's it's not sophisticated. It looks ungainly.
Yeah. Thank goodness for wedges, is all I can say.
Yeah, wedges are great. I sort of feel like they are specifically designed for middle-aged women.
They are. There are some better looking ones than there used to be, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. I have to say that, so talking about that flexibility, that mobility, especially through your feet, and also that numbness that you were just mentioning as well. So you can get tingling in your feet, you can get that numbness so that you can't feel where your toes are, where they're placing onto the floor.
Absolutely.
And if you are doing things like yoga or Pilates, where we're asking you to go actually up onto your toes and then coming down onto your heels, that whole motion through your foot can feel very uncomfortable. And that stiffness is definitely, partly due to the fact that we have less estrogen in us. And obviously we want to try and maintain that mobility, because if we don't use our bodies, we don't use our joints and things, we start losing that sort of suppleness that we have, and that moisture that goes, the synovial fluid between our joints. It starts to get very sticky and gloopy, and that actually can cause things like the pain that you're feeling as well.
And it is absolutely, if you don't use it, you do lose it. And it's, it's a cliche, but it is so, so true. Yeah. And I know when I don't exercise for a few days, I'm definitely, I did do yoga yesterday, but I've had a lot of late nights. And when I did it this morning, I was like, oh God, I'm really not feeling this. It's just, I went into downward dog very reluctantly. And, it just, normally I can just go, do a decent flow, but I just couldn't get into it today. Yeah. And that just happens sometimes, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. Yeah. It does, yeah. It would be wonderful if we were able to do everything every day, but no. The fact that you're doing it most days is going to really help you, definitely.
But the numbness that is quite worrying. It really, really is. Welcome back to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon, and I'm delighted to be joined by the director of the Olive Collective, Ailsa Petchey. We were all talking about fatigue and joint pain and all those delightful things that we're having to endure as menopausal ladies.
Yes, we are. So we thought we'd maybe chat about how we can manage those elements if we can, because obviously it affects us in so many different ways. So Some of the things that I actually see in class a lot are things like frozen shoulder, hip issues, hip pain especially, knee issues. I know that I've got a bit of a dodgy knee, and I know that it's got much worse as I've got to the age I'm at now, and also into ankles as well. So I thought we could just have a quick chat about sort of like some of the things that actually antagonise those things and things to maybe look at to maybe avoid. Would that be okay?
Yes, please.
Great. So I'm just going to say something that probably will make people think, well, it's obvious. But if we can maintain a healthy weight as we go into midlife, then obviously having a reasonable weight on our bodies means that we're not putting excessive pain into our joints or excessive weight bearing into our joints. That will always help. So it's a tough one because weight gain during menopause,
it's a given.
It can be, can't it? And it's such a tricky one, and we will touch base on that on another sort of episode. But just trying to think about maintaining a reasonable weight would be great. So I don't want to go into anything about nutrition on that at the moment. Staying hydrated. I know this sounds like a very obvious one, and you don't even think about it would help or not, but keeping that hydration in your body is really, really important. It keeps everything feeling a little bit more supple and moving. So we do need to try and make sure that we keep that lubrication through our joints by drinking plenty of water throughout our day. And if you're somebody who finds that tricky, then maybe you could put a little bit of one of those very gentle alarms on, just even something that makes you just every 45 minutes to 50 minutes. If you tend to find that you're not sipping at anything during an hour, then maybe put something on that will remind you. That could be a post-it note on your computer screen. It could be a little alarm, something that will make you move a little bit and also have something to drink. So that would be good. Now, the other thing that actually causes inflammation in our joints is stress. So our cortisol levels go up, inflammation happens in our joints, and so we do want to try and reduce our stress levels as much as possible. So much easier said than done. I know, but, especially at this time of year. But, if you can practice mindfulness, if you can practice maybe some deep breathing or ways to reframe something that's going on in your life so that you can see things in a little bit of a less stressful way, that would be fantastic. Now, the other thing actually to think about is maybe adding some supplements. And you were just mentioning that you've got, is it osteoarthritis you've got?
Yes.
Do you take glucosamine at all?
Do you know what? I was taking glucosamine, but I cannot find a pill that is small enough to swallow, because they are massive. They're like horse pills, and I just gag. I just can't do it, and so I'm really frustrated that I can't take it because I haven't managed to find one that isn't, as I say,
like a massive. Yes.
Well, they are like horse pills.
Yeah.
I just can't. I do all the magnesiums, I do all the zinc and all the Bs and everything. But I know glucosamine is really important. But if someone could invent a pill, please, a small capsule, that would be great.
Yeah, they actually, you can get it as a powder. So you can actually get it that comes in a powder, and you can get a little scoop, and you can actually pop that into something like your porridge, into coffee. You can actually just add that into something. So I'll give you some information about that, because I know exactly what you mean. Things are definitely like a horse pill. Magnesium is a great one as well, which I know you take. And collagen is another supplement that will really help you as well, because it sort of like helps the cartilage and everything to sort of like keep formed and just keeps that mobility going and lubrication through our joints as well.
Oh, okay. So collagen is the one I haven't done yet, because I don't know, I'm a bit scared. I don't know why. But we will chat about that another time. I don't know. I think I associate it with expensive skincare products, which I'm not a fan of. So maybe that's what it is. But maybe we could talk about collagen in more detail another time.
Absolutely.
And now we are going to be talking a bit about body positivity. And this is a subject that is close to every single woman, particularly of a certain age, their heart. Would you not agree?
Oh my gosh, yes. I think if I was to ask you then, Nancy, if you knew there was a part of your body you didn't like, I'm sure you'd be able to come up with something quite quickly.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the thing that's the sad thing that us women do is we negate ourselves. We put ourselves down. We always, when we look in the mirror, and I see this every day as a personal stylist, we look at the part of our bodies that we like the least, and we hone in on that. And I don't know why we do it. I'm trying to teach myself to speak more positively about myself and not do that and get into that negative spiral, because it is negative. And fundamentally, one can't change one's shape. Yes, you can lose weight, or but we have a bone structure, and I'm fundamentally an hourglass, but I carry my weight on my hips. So I will always in a photograph look at my hips first. And even when I'm very slim, I've still got wide hips, so you can't change your basic makeup. So yeah, for me it would be. Sometimes I feel like I'm very wide, but I also know that my narrative is getting healthier as I get older.
Good.
And that I'm thinking, well, I still have a waist, and I've got, I'm an hourglass, which is, a relatively healthy shape.
Yes.
So good. Yeah, it's getting there, but it's a long way to go. And if women spoke the way we speak to ourselves, we wouldn't speak to our friends like that. Why do we do it?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Well, okay, then let me ask you the question then. What part of the body do you like about yourself?
I'm actually mostly getting happier, becoming happier with my body. I'm happy with my legs, probably from the knees down. My knees I'm less keen on as I've got older. Happy with my arms, actually, which is, I know most women don't like their arms, but I'm happy. My arms are still relatively slim. I'm happy with my boobs now. I've finally accepted that there's nothing I can do. I'm not going to ever be flat-chested, so and my waist, so I'm getting to that period of acceptance, but it's taken a long time. But I suppose my best feature about my body is probably my waist.
That's brilliant, because a lot of women can't even pick out one thing. If you say to them exactly what you just said, as soon as you say, what don't you like about yourself, you can pick out a dozen things, can't you? And then finding that one thing that you like about yourself, then you think, does that make me vain? You have a question of like, oh gosh, does that make me sound like I'm a bit full of myself or something? And it doesn't at all. I love the fact that you're focusing on more positive things about yourself. And actually, we need to empower ourselves as we get older and enjoy our bodies, celebrate them, because they enable us to do everything that we do. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And how can I call myself a body positivity advocate if I'm not doing that myself?
Absolutely.
So preacher heal thyself. So what is your least favoured part of your body?
Well, actually, mine actually happened when I was 40. I'll just explain it because it's quite funny, really. I look back and I think, oh my goodness. So obviously I teach fitness, but originally I was very much like a step instructor, or just like cardio, aerobics, that sort of thing. And I always remember when I was 40, my son, I was reaching up into a cupboard and my son just got his finger and just swung the bottom of my arm. And I didn't realise that I had absolutely no muscle in my tricep at all for about an inch and a half. It was just skin. I was mortified. And bingo wings is actually the thing for me that I concentrate on trying not to have. And it took me years to actually start to get some form of tone in the backs of my arms. So I'm really glad you like your arms, because that's something that I've had to really work on. But it's something that really made me realise about how much muscle mass we lose every year. So from the age of 30, every year we lose, just because of the natural aging process, about 1% of our muscle mass. So if you can imagine, in a decade, we can lose 10% of our muscle mass. Now, I saw that very dramatically in my arms, but you can see it in different parts of your body. You can see it at the tops of your knees. You were saying about not liking your knees so much. We can lose that sort of like tone at the top of our thighs, our legs. We can find it in our tummies. You can feel a little bit more sloppy. And that's just some natural decline. So as we were saying earlier, if you don't use it, you do lose it. And I think toning of your body and using your body so that you can function is a really, really important thing. So the one thing I would say, that if I had to say I liked something now, it's actually the top of my shoulder, because I've worked hard enough that I can see that I've got a little bit of some definition that I would never have had before if I didn't start working on the backs of my arms. So there we go.
It's wonderful, but it's really heartening to hear that someone, who's as fit as you are, and this is literally your job, still has body insecurities. And not wonderful, but it is heartening to think, we're all the same. We've all got these things. And but as you said, bingo wings is probably the thing I hear most of all when people come and see me as a stylist, is that they hate the tops of their arms. And most women of a certain age want sleeves.
Yes. I mean, is there something that you can disguise?
Yeah, you can buy these weird cape things, but they're just a pain. Manufacturers need to just do more sleeve dresses. But when I say sleeves, I don't mean cap sleeves, because that's even worse than not having a sleeve at all, because that'll sit on the widest part of your arm. So yes. Cap sleeves are not our friends. But just a floaty sleeve or 3/4 is always very flattering. Yeah. And I was talking about sleeves in the first hour, and just sort of saying sleeves are massive this season. A big sort of flouncy, blousy 80s sleeve like this is really flattering, particularly if you're a pear shape, because it detracts, because someone who's smaller on top, it detracts from the bottom. So it's all about the drama there, and you're not focusing on the bottom. So it's all about, for me, it's all about dressing the parts that you focusing on the parts that you love and detracting from the ones that you're least keen on.
Absolutely. No, that's lovely. Okay.
Well, that's really interesting, actually. I mean, body positivity is a whole subject. You know, we could talk about this for hours. And maybe we'll devote a whole show to it. Because I do think, and I would really welcome some feedback from listeners, actually, to know, you know, send in some questions. You know, we'd love to know what would you want us to talk about. Last link. Oh my God, Ailsa, where's it gone?
I know, it goes quickly, doesn't it?
We were saying off air, we need a whole show on body positivity, I think. We really, really do. Yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about how important it is to do weight-bearing exercises. And it kind of gets a bit of bad press, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, I've noticed a lot on social media at the moment that they keep saying, saying you have to wear weight bear by using, you know, heavy weights, go to the gym. And I think that if anybody hasn't ever done any exercise with weights at all, then really that's almost like a bit of a step too far. You need to almost like go back to basics and just start thinking about some of the things that you can do quite relatively easily, whether that's something like a Pilates or yoga, where you actually can weight bear through your arms by doing lovely exercise and movement, which you're moving your body, but you're also using your body weight to help. And then introducing very light weights. You know, you can even do things like, you know, cans, tin cans from the cupboard. They're about 400 grams. You can do some really lovely arm exercises by just holding on to cans and just doing maybe a lateral raise or bicep curls or overhead press. Those little things, especially when the kettle's boiling. You know me, I'll keep saying when the kettle boils or when you're doing something, it's nice to do something at the same time. It's the best way to get some habits in place. But you can also fill up some water bottles with rice, and that can also be a great way to, you know, add a little bit of extra weight in, pop them in your pockets, go for a walk with a little bit of extra weight in your pockets, you know, or get some wrist weights, those sorts of things. But just trying to do that, when you actually start building up muscle, it actually really helps to feed your bones. And we know that bones, you know, become very brittle and need to be strengthened as we get older. The last thing we want to do is break anything, which obviously recently you have been through something, haven't you, like that? So you want to try and think about ways that we can just change a few lifestyle habits that will actually enable you to think about strength in a good way. So strong over skinny is a really great thing now. I love that in fashion and in telling the younger girls about that now is so good, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. You know, I would rather be strong than skinny. I mean, I'm never going to be skinny anyway, but
me neither.
For me, being strong is so important. Being toned and lean, I love that. I admire that in other women. So I don't look at skinny as aspirational in any way, shape, or at all. You know, and as you say, things, I don't know if the fashion industry will really ever change. I think fundamentally, you know, it is a deep-seated thing that, you know, models are, you know, have a BMI of 6 and, you know, because their clothes hang better, you know, because they're clothes hangers. But I think as role models, you know, that's not what we want. We know we want strong women, and as you say, and yoga and Pilates, all those sorts of things that you can do at home. The thing is, people put so much pressure, say, I haven't got time to go to the gym. But I always think if you want to do it, you will find the time. And I don't want to get up at, you know, whatever time in the morning, but I always try and get up half an hour early, and I'm not being sanctimonious about it. I just know that if I don't do yoga in the morning, my day will go to pot. So you have to plan it in. It's not something, I think we're so sedentary now that if you don't plan it in, it's not going to happen. So I think those things, even thinking about maybe those, dare I say, the New Year's resolutions, because they don't last, but we just need to try and change one small thing will make a big difference to a lot of people. Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up New Year's resolutions, because that is something obviously that'll be as soon as the excess of Christmas is over, we're into sort of a bit of self-flagellation. Oh my God, I ate this, and what about New Year's resolutions? I don't really like the word resolutions. I think it has negative connotations, and you're setting yourself up to fail. Yes, 100%. Yeah. And that's why gyms do so well in February. Nobody's going. So January they're rubbing their hands together, you know, with glee, just thinking this is fabulous. But I think, you know, if it is a resolution, it's not. It's, you know, you have to. For me, it's about goal setting and setting intentions, and maybe changing the narrative that it doesn't sound like you're setting yourself up to fail.
I agree.
And again, set yourself achievable targets. You know, and do bite-sized chunks. You know, no pun intended, but just sort of say, by the end of January, I plan to do X. But, you know, rather than I'm going to lose 5 stone and run the London Marathon in it. You know, it's not going to happen. So
you want something that's sustainable. You want to do something, as I say, if you change one thing, anything that you change for the first time time is hard work. And then then after you've got it to feeling a little bit more normal, then you can start moving on to something else. I completely agree with you.
Ailsa and I are talking very quickly about all the things we want to talk about over the next few weeks, but Christmas is imminent, and yeah, I just want to say thank you for joining us on Hot Stuff, on this wonderful new station and my wonderful new show, which I'm absolutely loving. Third one, and I just feel like I'm starting to get into my rhythm now, which is wonderful. And honestly, you've just been such an amazing guest. So let's talk about how we can get people to follow us, and let's share it, and let's get the message out there, because I think what we've got to say is very important.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if anybody wants to follow along for myself, then there's Don't Sweat It Walking Group on Facebook. That's a really good one. We're actively putting into that group constantly all sorts of tips and things that will help you to get through the next few weeks, and also to get through your hormone changes in menopause. But also you can follow me on socials at Olive Collective UK.
Fabulous. And we had a great exercise routine, a gentle little hit routine that she threw in on Monday. I was like, okay, sports bra alert next time. But no, it was great, and honestly, it's such a great group, and it's free. I mean, where do we ever get a chance to do something like that for free? It's wonderful. So,
and also, if it's wet days that you saw, we just do it inside, so nobody can say it's the weather's going to stop us.
Exactly, no excuses. And you can follow me on Nancy at horizonradio.com and Instagram _NancyMK_. Please, 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 we would love to hear from you. There's so much we want to talk about. You can follow us on socials, drop us a DM, and we would absolutely revel in whatever you've got to say. There's nothing that is off limits. Well, maybe a few things, but no, joking aside. And just a quick one, Ailsa's book, great Christmas present. We'll talk a little bit about it next week, but it's called Don't Sweat It, How to Manage Your Menopause in 21 Days. It is a great read. I'm going to read it again. And next week, we're going to be talking about damage limitation, which I think is very apt for Christmas. So thank you so much. It's been a great show. Tune in again next week, and I will, have a great week. Thank you for listening to the Nancy Stevens Lifestyle Show here on the New Horizon.